Lutheran Bible Study points out that in this particular section, Jesus had an encounter with the Pharisees previous to this. And now we come to the Sadducees, each of them trying to test him, trying to trick him. The religious authorities of the day, the power that speaks to Rome, trying to put away this potential Messiah in their eyes. However, as we find in this particular lesson, when Jesus is put to the test, when he's questioned, he goes back over millennia, back to Deuteronomy chapter 6, and asks, what is the greatest commandment? When the Pharisees heard that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together, and one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him. Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest? He said to them, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. The gospel of Christ. Please be seated. Dear friends, grace and peace to you from God and the Lord Jesus. Amen. For many people, this is a big weekend. It was the first time in almost 40 years that the Crown was crowned. For some, they've been glued to their TV sets for the Stanley Cup Finals. Others are watching the NBA Finals, the French Open Finals. Some were more somber, remembering on Saturday, D-Day. That one's probably most appropriate for anybody to pay attention to this weekend. For all those other things that consume us so often, be it the entertainments, the sports, all those other things fade. As we find from the book of Job, all those things are very fleeting. And I think it was no mistake that God inspired today in Arnold Shakura for that lesson from Job, as well as the other two readings, including the Gospel today. Because yesterday, it was about sacrificial love, when you remember those who have fallen. And today, we are celebrating sacrificial love. You hear it in the Gospel. You hear it first, however, in the book of Hebrews. As you just heard, Glenn read this. Let mutual love continue. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers. For by doing that, some have entertained angels without knowing it. That is the keystone of what we refer to in the church as biblical hospitality. Today we're entertaining strangers. Well, some of you know each other. I know some of you. But I'm willing to bet that there's at least one person that you don't know today. There is a stranger that you will meet today. And to show hospitality is to entertain angels. As Luther would probably say of this, he would refer back to simul justus et peccator, simultaneously saints and sinners. We are the gathered saints, we're the gathered sinners. And it is by this hospitality that we show the love of God. This is a hospitality that was extended 40 years ago today. Arnold Shakura extended it to their family and their friends, to their faith family. And they do the same again today. For gathered here are family, friends, and faith family. Much the same scenario from the wedding at Cana, where Jesus was invited. In fact, there were less family there and mostly faith family that accompanied him. But in that scenario, just like in what we heard today in Hebrews and in the Gospel according to Matthew, the key to the event was love. Now, this is not the kind of love that we're used to, whether we're listening on the radio or on our computers or whatever mobile device we choose to use to listen to music. When we hear love songs, as nice as they are, this one, this love, is is different than most of those songs. Very few of them touch upon that. Because in the gospel today, in the Greek word agape, this is a sacrificial love. This isn't about falling in and out of love. This is a covenantal love. A covenant that goes back not just 2,000 years to Jesus, but goes back another 2,000 years, almost 4,000 years ago, when Abraham and Sarah were united in a covenantal love. Not just with one another, but with God. And they trusted God. And they went to a foreign land. It was the birth of monotheistic religion in the world. It's what we trace back our Christian faith to. A covenantal love. When we celebrate a marriage, when we have a wedding day in the church, it isn't about the rule of the land. It isn't that pastors like myself or Pastor Bob are licensed by the province of Ontario to officiate at a wedding. In the church, this is about a covenant. A covenant between two people, Arnold and Shakura in this case, but anyone who comes together to that. A covenant between them and God. And for those who are gathered, they are called not just as witnesses, but they are called into this covenant relationship to not only celebrate, but I think more importantly, to support with their love and prayers that marriage. That kind of covenant bond survives the ups and downs of life. The good, the bad, the sorrows and the joy, the tears and the laughter. It is the kind of love that Jesus speaks of this day when he quotes from Deuteronomy. The greatest commandment, in other words, the greatest command that God has on your life, the greatest call that you can live throughout your lifetime is the command, the covenant of love. And notice, you shall love the Lord your God, and you hold nothing back. It says, with all your heart and with all your soul. That is the love that you are to mirror in a covenant relationship, such as marriage. You love each other as you love the Lord your God, with all your heart and with all your soul. And with all your mind. All the aspects of your being. Totally committed. A sacrificial love that you would be willing to give your life for another. Just as Jesus was willing to give his life for all. That is the sacrificial love we hear today. That is the sacrificial love of marriage. We see it thousands upon thousands of years ago with Abraham and Sarah. And throughout the biblical witness with the Hebrew people, to this very day, in this house of worship. People who are gathered here of various faiths, people that are gathered from various places, like Abraham and Sarah, Arnold and Shakura traveled to a distant land to be here in this country. And when they came together, when they were married here, it was in the same vein, going back thousands of years, as that covenant relationship. And it still continues today, not just for this married couple, not just for all married couples, but even today as those who are preparing to be married. It is a covenant with a God of love. Not a God of vengeance and anger. Not a God that's going to strike us down at any time, as was being taught at Luther's time and what he was taught to fear. But as he discovered in the Scriptures and opened for all the church, not just for Lutherans, but for all of us, that this is ultimately a God of grace and forgiveness. That when you spoke those words of repentance this morning, by the love of God, you were forgiven. Tabula rasa. The slate was wiped clean. That is real love. That is the kind of love we desperately need in this world. That's the kind of love that you hear in the marriage ceremony when we go from the two, the couple, and we're reminded that they're to have love for the world. The second commandment. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. As a couple finds deep and abiding love through the love of God, it then stretches out to the neighbor. And the famous question from the Gospels, of course, is asked, well, who is my neighbor? Who is your neighbor? Who are you called to love? Take a look around. Come in. Turn your heads. Look. You up front, look back there. You back there, look way up here. Don't be looking at me. And who is your neighbor? That is your neighbor. That is the family of God. The children of God that we are to love. And yes, sometimes, and I know what some of you are thinking, yeah, do I have to love him or do I have to love her? Do I have to love all the time? Yes. Will it be difficult? Of course it will. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and there would be ultimate peace in all the world, and quite honestly, there'd be no need for us to gather. But we don't live in such a world. It wasn't that kind of world with Abraham and Sarah. It wasn't that kind of world with Jesus. And it's still not that. You, in that covenant called love, are called to be agents of love in this world. As Arnold Shakur recalled 40 years ago this very day. In a broken world, in a world where sometimes it is difficult for us to get along, we are called, despite all of that, to come to love one another. Whether it's difficult at times or it seems very easy. Why? Because that is the greatest commandment. To love the Lord your God and then to love your neighbor. And it doesn't end here. You see, with the olive branch we support, with our adopted daughters such as Columba and her sister Logia, it extends across the globe. When you leave here today, after we finish our celebration, 40 years of a wonderful marriage. When you go out in the world and you have your ups and downs this week, this month, this year, throughout your lifetime, throughout all of that, you are still called with that covenant relationship to love the Lord and to love each other and to love the neighbor. That is all of God's creatures, all of God's children, all of our brothers and sisters in all the world. Today we celebrated that love. We're reminded at the beginning of our own Shakur. For that, I thank God for God's love. And God's love be with you now and always. I invite Mr. Andrew now, once again, please rise as we sing our song of the day, number 631 in your worship book in the hymn section. Love divine, all loves accepted.